yeah, did not experience it as a tyranny at that point, was a very much self-created situation of tyranny and victimization.
The tyranny of your search, I believe he said that at your wedding.
Yes, on my wedding.
And I find it very interesting, your wife's perspective on your past experiences.
Yeah, and also, I mean, what's maybe important in the way I created my path, females never represented an equal part. I mean, on my life is, I had a very strong attachment to females, and I had a very strong attachment to spirituality. But I never created a setup and a setting where I would be able to combine that in my life. So when I was with Sai Baba is calling up boys, not girls. There are sexual experiences with girls, but that happens in dream state. And I know people who have that over a longer period of time, and it's strong for them. But in terms of physical intercourse, these are boys. And then on my personal path, I was with a Sufi master, and to a different degree, that energy of keeping out women out of spirituality was present there too. And
there's a tremendous appreciation for women at the Ramtha school, isn't there?
yes, very much. And basically what he says is that women, from their energetic makeup, are much closer to, and he calls, if you now call the energy centers in the body chakras, or he calls them seals, he's referring to the fourth seal, the heart area, as a fourth seal, and he says that females are naturally much closer to the fourth seal than men are. So he gives them as a biological system, biological, spiritual, neurological energy transformator, very much credit. For men, he said, they are connected to their basic sexuality. Being a man, I can relate to that very, very strong. And that is, how I see it. It's a problem in male-female relationships, not to have that knowledge, and to then also to buy in old traditions of spirituality that separate the two poles of energy, plus and minus, yin and yang, positive and negative. And so when you refer now to my wedding through the Ram, what in terms of spiritual development and commitment, what is very, very special in there is that the only reason I married was to be on the path with a wife, with a female. That's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in men. And but only because we have the same intent in life, to be spiritual. And that is the power that drives me forward in that relationship to overcome my programmings and as a male.
Do you think she sees things that you don't see?
Yes, she does. Yeah.
Yeah, because I notice when this sexual abuse issue with Sai Baba gets brought up, it's like a spiritual fire comes out of her, like a really deep concern and love for her man.
The reason I acknowledge that as a spiritual fire in her is that the Ramta, had that fire on me. And I would perceive for myself that I'm not at the end of owning that experience.
But through marriage and through this love with your wife, you feel...
What I feel, I see it just, getting a little older and a little wiser and more experienced, I know that when things keep popping up in your life, that there's a reason for that. Knowing also that I'm the creator of my reality, it makes clear to me, you better listen. Even that I, for the best of my knowledge, do not understand it.
So that's quite a turnaround from Sai Baba, who said stay away from women, from the Sufi master, who said pretty much the same thing, even though he was, probably a couple notches up from Sai Baba. Here you are now in a committed spiritual direction and learning from a woman.
Yes, I do. Yeah. It's totally a turnaround. It is also a real adventure. I don't want to, when you're with a female entity in a committed spiritual relationship, then there's a lot of learning, and it's not, I mean, that you have to be responsible with your energies, and it's not about the first seal or the sexuality in the relationship, even
if your wife is very beautiful, like yours
very
is.
beautiful, and but even that is part of our relationship. But what the beauty in that is, and that is simply to embrace all levels of energy that I am able as a human being to perceive and to live, and that as a whole takes it up on my spiritual path and develop. I'm not cutting anything out, and I was before that on my search very rigid, and I paid a high price for that.
What was the price?
Well, the price
You were kind of an uptight guy?
was no, I was never actually totally not, quite the opposite of an uptight guy. But in terms of spirituality, because I was so very much not uptight in all the other aspects, yeah, I was rigid with myself. And
Oh, you mean you would sort of philander around and spill your seed and feel guilty? Is that what you mean?
not feel guilty, but when I then had enough, then I would be, now I'm committed, and now
So it was just like a seesaw ride, back and forth and back and forth.
yeah, for a long time.
But not really profound spiritual growth that was stable and.
No, but that did happen though when I was just fed up with a normal life of what is now in the social consciousness, to spill your seeds like nothing, all the time. So, and that of course drains you, it makes you unhappy, and everybody experiences that on his own level. But when I came to that point of being really at the end of my wisdom, Sai Baba didn't work out, living the first seal and that drive in me didn't work out, then I actually manifested that Sufi master in my life, and there I did learn, even that it was still, I mean, it was rigid, and I lived 2 years celibate, and I mean, was committed, but it was also limited. And I did saw that through books I read from the Ram, and I got, I mean, incredible things happening in my life, and that was the only way I would have been able to leave that setup I was in.
It's a deep teaching, isn't it, about finding your divinity through embracing your humanity.
Yes, it's a very deep teaching, and it's a teaching that requires, I mean, a lot of courage. You have to love yourself into life. It's actually the title of a book, one of the greatest books of the Ram, and
well, why is that so hard? I mean, you find somebody, you go to a seminar, you find a beautiful woman like your wife, and you both go to these courses.
Yeah,
What's so hard?
For me personally, it was so hard to come to that point, to be actually willing and able to make such a commitment.
I mean, to let a woman in your life as a spiritual equal.
Yes, absolutely equal, and I mean, I couldn't. There's so much, I mean, happening in my life. And there's much more deeper levels which now lead too far. But I know for myself that if we call it now with Jung animus anima, that I have both sides in me, male and female. So to embrace it in my relationship is an embracement of the whole that I am. And yeah, my wife is my friend, it's my spiritual partner, and we walk the path together very, very much.
So it seems as though as you own more of this experience that you had with Sai Baba, you can look forward to a deeper and more fulfilling relationship with your wife and with all of life. Do you feel that?
Yes, I do feel that, and that part of the... Actually, no, I do not feel that. It's only my knowledge and my view on life that it just does not make any sense to regret your life, because it was all my experience and my creation. I do not feel at all that I learned from Sai Baba.
You don't feel that you learned?
No, shit, hell not. You don't learn.
But you still don't feel...
You don't learn a goddamn thing. What you have is, you get some experiences.
Well, then don't you regret you wasted some time if you learn nothing?
Yeah, but how could I regret my life? I created it. And that's also the reason I don't have any emotional energy on it. I
felt some emotional energy there a few seconds ago. You really want to make clear to people that they're wasting their time with Sai Baba.
Yes, hey, okay, but
there's some passion there.
Friends, followers, spiritual seekers, you are wasting your freaking time. It is an absolute waste of time, of course, but not for the individual. If somebody sees that and takes a certain part, then that is his truth, her truth. And that is cool, because they are all gods.
Mm-hmm.
And that is in my case. You see, if you ask me, do I regret it? No, I don't regret it. Would I? Because that's where I led myself. Even that it was limited, very limited. And I know much better now. And I do know, I mean, it would have been great if I would have been with my energy with 21. And actually, I met Sabah when I was 14. I came in contact with him. Would have been able to meet a real spiritual teacher. But I just had to go through stuff. My own victimization. That was my agenda. Everybody comes on this plane with a backpack, and that was my backpack.
But see, somehow it seems as though I can agree with you. You were weakened, because when I read that rebuttal, I think any average person who didn't have any particular commitment to Sai Baba, they would have their little alert antennas go up, say, hey, you know, here's somebody that's saying, be silent, don't talk. He's really into controlling something. What's this guy got to hide? But what you point out, for those who are committed, this is a very, very big deal, and it can shake them.
Very big deal.
But that very big deal really means people have been weakened. They've been weakened.
Yeah. They have been taken with a strong, some of them, a lot of them, I don't know. They're all levels. In every spiritual gathering we are coming, there are levels of commitment. But they are very truthful teachers, seekers that come to Sai Baba. Yeah, and actually do
sincere.
Yeah.
But I think in general, you know, your average population sort of shies away from spiritual endeavors because they look at people and they see a bunch of wimps. They see people who are growing poorer every year.
Yeah, but these people, unless they come on this plane already with a inner knowledge of who they are, okay, and who they stand for. Those people usually don't have a strong spiritual drive. They are not seekers. It is in the end how I see it now. It is all about intent, about the energy you are able to manifest inside of yourself, and you can channel that in the outer world, in a career, and you can. In my case, I could have done everything, could have had a career, but I channeled that into spiritual seeking. So.
No, I've heard that, you know, that's sort of a justification for why spiritual people don't seem to be so accomplished in the material world, but I don't know if I accept that. Do you think that by that definition, Sai Baba is a spiritual seeker? Is he a spiritual being? Spiritual?
No, he's very good question, again. He is completely not a seeker, and now every Sai Baba, good Sai Baba devotee would not say, no, he's there already.
He's God.
But he got it. He's God. He got it. Yeah?
He's God, but that's with an understanding that there's only one God, and it certainly can't be us.
Yeah,
if you have an
what Sai Baba does say is, you all could be small Sai Babas, okay?
Sai Baba says that.
Yeah, he does say that. And it's also showing, in my experience, you can evolve energetically, yeah?
And yet it doesn't seem he's produced one.
Absolutely, and that's not his interest either.
Have you seen one, like somebody who maybe would have weathered through what you decided was repulsive?
I met what I referred to earlier, that there are several people really in a circle, and he refers to them as a metaphor, being married to them, even though that these people he also can divorce from one day to the other. But I met a woman who was in her 80s, and who certainly had attained a certain level of spirituality, but being in the circles I am now, I meet a lot of powerful people and spiritual evolved people, who would outdo any Sai Baba I've ever met.
Because, we're living in a time when the world is crying out for solutions, and the solutions are not going to come in a limited material context.
No,
and science points that there's a deeper level than what we normally...
Absolutely, and that is, I would also like, that's my view on this whole drama that is playing off itself, and part in now these publications, this interview, and everything is just a part of that. And Sai Baba is just a freaking part of that. He's playing the role. Right? And that role is, for me personally, very much a reflection of the consciousness today. Seeing the rock star, and I mean, seeing this mass hysteria, and to a good degree, that is mass hysteria. What is happening there? And
people just want to give up their power. They want to have somebody take care of them. They want to forget their problems.
Absolutely.
They want to be taken to a divine place and leave their mundane struggles.
Yeah, and also, I mean, when we now is obviously the time for revelations in that extent, when we look then deeper on what lies beneath it, and that is basically power and money. That's what lies beneath it. I strongly believe money is not really important to Sai Baba. It's the power behind it. So, but I mean, every really rich man knows that. Money at a certain point is not attractive anymore.
Well, I think there's other websites too that would indicate that Sai Baba's empire is not oblivious to the need for money.
No, because money means power.
Yeah.
But what I try to say is, if you have in the years millions and millions and millions and millions and millions, okay? So at one point, one would assume...
But he created that reality, so
right,
he must
and at
want
one
that.
point, one would assume that money doesn't play an issue anymore. But it does, because money on a certain level represents power. And that's what it is all about. It's about power.
I just point that out because I noticed in talking to your wife, she thought that you thought during one of these encounters with Sai Baba when his penis was in your mouth that he didn't, looking at his face, he didn't seem to be having any sexual pleasure. But your wife said, oh, come on, you know, he's got to have been getting something out of that.
Yeah, something, that is true. But my wife also was not there. So I just give an account, and nobody, because I was alone with him, can comment on that big. I mean, that is maybe the wrong word, because like I said, I'm still in the process of totally embracing that, and the interview here is part of that.
But you know, you say that...
I just know, and I was there 10 years, my wife was never there, okay?
But I think it's her intuition as a woman that even though you may not see on the face...
But what she said was, yeah, you can't tell me that he didn't get something out of that. And I tell you, he gets everything out of that. Yeah. That's all what he's standing for. It is just, was my observation. And also, I mean, let's put it frankly, that's also what I still do not understand, okay? And that is to have innocent people, like in a child, in an abuse situation, to create such a situation and to get pleasure out of that. That is, for my consciousness, so low that I just can't imagine somebody doing that, okay? I know that it is happening, but I also know that these people are basically, I mean, a lot of abuse cases are out of a seeking of love on the part of the abuser, okay? It's just misled perception. I don't want to apologize to anybody in that, but when I view it, I just see beyond the physical fact in that. And in my situation with Sai Baba, that is very similar. Yeah? On his part, I believe, it is about power, okay? It is about, changing me, and maybe not even, he only changed what he likes, but that's ego on his part then again. He's picking a certain population to perform these, whatever you call it, it's not white tantra, if it's just sexual abuse.
People could claim that Ramtha tried to change you too. What was the difference?
Yeah, he wants to change Ramtha very, very much. Everything he does is about change in you. But the very big difference is...
He's not a personality.
Yeah, no, somebody could doubt that, but...
Yeah.
The very difference in that is that all that is happening at the Ramtha School of Enlightenment in America is about teachings. He's a teacher. So you get totally the knowledge, and you get only acknowledged in one way or the other if you are accomplishing that. I mean, if you change inside of yourself for yourself. And you also, I mean, Sai Baba can come to dreams, Ramtha can come to dreams. And they are both working with you. It is just a totally different agenda. And the agenda with Ramtha is that it's about, and I mean, that's difficult now. Every Sai Baba, everybody would say, it's about love. Yeah? And I would say, Ramtha's motivation is actually love.
But in the end,
I had both experiences, and I never had, I do not even now have energy on Sai Baba. I don't feel. I mean, I'm not angry with that. What I'm standing up for. And you say I'm getting emotional when I get a little in it, but what I'm standing
Well,
up
I say
for.
passionate.
Passionate, yeah, passionate. I get passionate
Because I
when I
think you're.
want to say that what is happening on that level of energy is spiritual abuse, and that is for me totally beyond, physical abuse, and that is also the
You get passionate about that?
the ugliness in child abuse, because you're not just doing this physical act, you are giving a child in that spirit and that, wow, now I get here, and you are giving that entity scars, yeah, for no, you don't know how long a time, lifetimes, this life for sure, you just, and I mean, engage every, psychologist from
Well,
the street.
you may not have had it. You may not have had a decent marriage if you didn't flush this out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, pick up on
Yes,
the energy
I'm very
that's
grateful
happening
for everything.
What's
now.
that?
Ask about the energy that's happening in them now.
What energy do you feel going on right now? Because it's
Now
obvious.
Kundalini rising.
Why?
Why do you think?
Yeah, I mean, either I can rise it in focus, or it happens when I speak truth.
Okay. And what truth's coming out now?
I guess that I made the connect to understand that on Ramta school, right now there's a big lawsuit going on in the American public because the Ram exposed a child abuser that was a student in the school who abused another younger student, a female. And that is here in the news in America, and the Ram called him up in front of 800 people and made him stand up for his truth. And made other people prosecute him for that. And this man is going to jail, big time. So the Ram is very much on child abuse, on abuse of any form. But the child abuse, I believe, from a spiritual viewpoint, is so outrageous because you are dealing. Jesus said, as you become the children, you are like me. If you are taking that from a human being, you are really do the utmost harm on that being. So I think that the energy rose up to that. That was because I made this connection to child abuse.
Because you realized that somebody took energy from you.
Yeah, because I was, like I said, I was just 21, even that I was 21, and I mean, when I read this man on the internet, I'm not, I mean, not proud about my consciousness at all in that situation. But it was a very strong form of abuse.
Well, what do you mean not proud? You shouldn't feel guilty. What could
No,
you
I
do?
don't.
You were
Yeah, but you
open,
see,
you
if I
were
would
young.
be that man, and I know, and to make that a little bit more plastic, that man had much more dedication with Sai Baba. He received much more materializations, much more interviews. He was just much more hooked, okay? And, I mean, unless you are in that state of mind, which I guess a lot of people experience in sects, this kind of addiction. You have no clue what that man went through. No clue. But I do have a clue.
Do you think Sai Baba is addicted to sex?
I think he's addicted to power and he has no better means. And maybe he's addicted and also to, yeah, but the physical act, like I said, I didn't feel him being on a low level of sexuality in that. But on the
Maybe
other
it was-
hand, I talked to other people that gave a different picture. So maybe, yeah, that is like that.
Okay, now let's just try to work.
Ramtha came out in Italy very violently against Sai Baba, and my feeling is that if the Italian public, who is very given to worship and devotion to Sai Baba, and maybe because of their cultural conditioning towards the Pope and Catholicism, the downside of it. My feeling is that if his message is deeply understood, this Italian public could benefit in the same way that you're starting to benefit, in a very practical way, just in a happy man-woman relationship and better satisfaction with your life. What do you think his...
First, I would like to connect to the first part of your statement. I think that was very wise and good. My experience, you see, you come to Sai Baba, the ashrams, you have the different nations in groups. The Italians are the most emotional. They're very emotional. And the Ram having a total different teaching, basically, that is based on intent, yeah, and not on emotion. It is not about Swami here, Swami there, and about, being emotional. Every, man that stood his life, comes to a certain realization that emotion does not lead you anywhere in life. It is intent that creates greatness, and that is the Ram's message. And so, him addressing the Italians in the way he did, outrageous. Outrageous, for to do that. And the Italians share a collective consciousness. It's a morphogenetic field they choose to be reincarnated in, and that is certainly the reason he addressed them in the way he did. Yeah, and that is Ram pure, the confrontation. And if you are able to wake up, then go ahead. But his teachings are not for everybody at all.
Well, his teachings come from a very high plane, much, much higher
The
than...
demand from you, you are in the fire. You're in for the ride. You're in for the ride of your life. It is all about getting rid of your persona, about your attitudes and everything that you think that you are. And discovering...
Even if you're on top of the world, so to speak, you've got millions of followers. You've got to get rid of that.
I don't see that going.
Somebody like Sai Baba can also...
Oh, yeah. My wife addressed that, saying Sai Baba could be in 20 years be known with what he is, a being that has CD powers and charismatic entity. He could be really somewhere else, but it is also clear when you are that high and you're playing the game that he's playing, the price he has to pay is very high, and so I would assume for him to step out of that game, pitiful game that he's playing, when I already see how difficult it is to step out of my pitiful games, is a trillion times higher. I would wish that for him, but I really doubt that he would be able to do that.
Well, there's
Okay,
always...
let's see another tape. Let's see.
Okay.
And now let's take a listen, huh?